Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Joe Frager for holding this informative conference. Joe has always been in the forefront of promoting and defending Jewish causes. It is truly an honor for me to address a gathering that includes such dedicated citizens of Am Yisrael, members of the government, Ambassador Gilad Erdan, Cabinet Minister, who should be here, Amichai Shikli, Knesset member Amichai Eliyahu, and it was really very impressive listening to Minister of Information Galit Istal Adarian, and really someone like that who is now going to be in charge with information really can do so much on behalf of Klal Yisrael. I guess I've been invited to address this gathering because of my involvement on the American scene and the Israeli scene in regard to two issues, among others, that are in the forefront of concern to the Jewish population on both sides of the ocean: judicial reform in Israel and the concern of the aggressive policies of the reform movement of the United States and Israel. Just last week, we celebrated the holiday of Shavuot, the giving of the Torah by the Almighty Himself, creating the Jewish people as a Jewish nation in front of approximately 3 million people, of which we are the direct descendants and, in fact, part of their soul. What was given was the Torah with its 10 commandments, which were followed up with the balance of the 613 mitzvos, commandments for the Jewish people to observe and follow forever. It is said that at that point in the year of 2448 from creation, or 3,335 years ago, the Jews were standing ki ish echad belev echad, meaning one person, one heart, togetherness, all agreed as one nation, one people, one person. But how do we find ourselves today? One nation, one set of adherences to the dictates, the commandments handed down by God to us then? And where are we today? No other religion can claim that God appeared to them and commanded them on how to behave morally, religiously, and to respect each other. Today, we find ourselves overwhelmed by outside sources, non-Jewish sources, anti-Semitic sources, trying to dictate our way of life in Israel. Whether it is the President of the United States with his daily threats, or the funding through the U.S. State Department, or the funding through the European Union, or even left-leaning Jews, self-hating Jews, who wish to destroy our way of life, both in Israel and in the U.S. Whether trying to impose their thinking on how the people of a true democratic country, Israel, the only one in the Middle East, should live their lives. A supposed ally, the U.S., dictating laws, policies by threatening to withhold assistance both in money and in help, such as achieving a peace agreement, the Abraham Accord with Saudi Arabia, threatening Israel by not allowing the elected members of their government, the government of Israel, to pursue the reform of the current undemocratic judicial system put into place by a small group of self-appointed, not elected judges. Continued threats by the U.S. and other foreign governments not allowing what the population voted to take place. Changes that the population voted for. Democratic, fair changes that the population voted for, that should take place immediately. Based on information provided to me, over 200 million shekels have been given by foreign sources to create illegal demonstrations, paid by factions of left-wing causes, threatening the stability of a duly elected government and placing their elected members of the Knesset in a great source of danger. Yes, physical danger. Did we not see how the Orthodox community received the arrogant demonstrators in Bnei Brak with love, candy, and food packages? And then see how the demonstrators from the left wing came into the religious quarters, disturbing the residents during the Sabbath, the Shabbos, or during prayers? Are we aware of the complaints about the lack of Orthodox individuals joining the IDF? But they fail to appreciate that those who are not part of the army provide charitable services for the total population of Israel, not just for the 3 years of the term of the IDF, but for a lifetime, such as Hatzolah, Magen David Adom, Chaverim, Zaka, Yad Sarah, Chazdei Naomi, Ezer Mitzion, among others. There are more than between 130 to 150,000 volunteers, lifetime volunteers, in these organizations. The second issue is the growing power of a fringe group of outsiders, the American Reform Movement, a dying group of supposed Jews who are demanding a new set of education, ideas that for the last 5,700 years has not been allowed or followed in our lifestyle, ideas that crosses all our years of learning and way of life. This group, they claim, represents 3 million Jews in the diaspora. But let us review the statistics that are available from the sources provided by the Pew Report and others. The Reform movement itself began about 150 years ago, mainly by the semi-assimilated German Jews in Europe. They came to America in the mid-1800s and started their movement in the U.S. with a small semblance to our Masorah, our tradition. But they grew to become a major part of the Jewish U.S. population until the Orthodox movement began in the U.S. in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, but greatly increased after World War II when over 6 million Jews were killed. The beginning of this Orthodox growth in the U.S. began at approximately the same time as the establishment of the modern State of Israel. Let me give you some statistics of the Reform movement, its growth in the last 20 years, and the future growth or lack of it as provided by the statistical reports. The degree of assimilation in the Reform movement is currently at 79%. In addition, statistics show that children of assimilated parents themselves marry out of their religion, our religion, and when they finally do get married later in life, they produce 1.71 children. The rate of survival of the religion is 2.5 children. The Pew Report shows that in the 3 generations, from a number of 1,000 adults in the Reform movement will result in only 160 people remaining Jewish. On the other hand, the same number of 1,000 individuals in the Orthodox movement results in 31,260 people in the same period, 200 some odd times as much. The Jewish school system currently has approximately 350,000 students, all Orthodox, except about 5,000, 7,000 in the total Reform conservative school system. The Orthodox schools are growing in excess over 5,000 pupils per year. The Reform movement is losing between 500 to 1,000 students per year. Reading their brochures, they align themselves with organizations that are anti-Israel, such as J Street, calling Israel occupiers, supporting the two-state solution, pro-BDS thinking, and in fact even showing themselves against the IDF. On one of my trips recently to Israel, I was approached by a number of secular mothers. One of them complained to me that her child came home from school with a comment that she just learned about the Shalosh Regalim. We understand that. Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuos. Nice, but what does that mean? The response was Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. The secular mother cried how much she, especially her children, need to be provided religion in their schools. She said, I am proud to be Jewish. I would like my children to know their heritage. Listening to me, you can surmise that I'm very concerned about Israel. Let me explain why. My mother was born in Israel. My father learned in the yeshiva of Rav Kook. My wife is a 12th generation Yerushalmi. I learned in Israel. All my children, my grandchildren learned in the yeshivot or in the girls' seminary, everyone. I and my friends, thank God, Blianara, own apartments in Israel and frequent Israel a number of times a year with the hope and intention to make Aliyah in the very near future. I beg all in the attendance, listen to my message. The future of our Jewishness, of our beloved state of Israel, is being jeopardized by both the Reform movement and the anti-government demonstrations. With the help of Hashem with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we will succeed. Please make yourself heard, and thank you so much for listening.